Luxurious Heat Nation. Yeah. Murcielago. Down to Biscayne.
Yikes. Five on the floor. Ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing. You can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frogs.
Down to Biscayne.
Kept the floor playing, got it all band. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, Inspire have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to Five on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
Welcome back to another post-game edition of Five on the Floor. I'm your host, Greg Sylvander. Tonight's floor plan with me, Digital Adele. We are coming to you directly after the Miami Heat's. I won't call it heartbreaking because they were not favored in this matchup, but really it was a close game. They ended up making it really interesting at the end, but they ended up losing to the Minnesota Timberwolves 106-104. We are going to recap that ball game. Before we do, want to shout out Off the Floor. That's our Discord server. You can talk Miami Heat 24/7 here. It's the most heat anywhere. $2.99 a month, $3.99 is the Apple upcharge, but you can bypass that by using the link in the description of this episode. This is where you can talk Miami Heat basketball 24/7. We do Q&As. We, just chop it up in the different chats, talk about draft prospects, Miami Heat basketball in general, the most heat anywhere off the floor. Adele, this one's rough. This is tough now. The Heat are what? On a 3-game losing streak. Is that right? Gosh, I need to make sure of that. No, I guess they beat Washington here, so they've lost 3 of 4.
3 of 4, yep.
And this is another game to me, Adele, where they're playing a team that is favored. They have a better record than Miami, and I think just ultimately, as you see the game go on, the talent disparity becomes evident. And we talked a little bit about it pre-show. And it's a difficult position for the Heat to be in. Obviously, there's guys that are out that would have made this a better matchup. Minnesota is particularly, they have a lot of guys that could give the Heat trouble. This was a tight game, though, so I want to give the Heat the credit of that. Your overall thoughts before we get to the player of the night and start to get through our segments.
Yeah, my overarching thoughts on this game come down to the Miami Heat, whenever they play not just tougher opponents, but any opponent really, is that they can put a good half together, they can put a good quarter together, but they can't put a good 4 quarters together. They're just not consistent enough, and it shows up all throughout the game. So that first half was just ugly. The comments we're getting on this game are just ugly. People are frustrated, they're tired, and it's just the signs of a mediocre team. And whenever you have Bam and Tyler as your 2 best players in terms of offensive scoring punch, that's what's going to happen. Bam Adebayo, terrific. I mean, he was outstanding tonight. Tyler was okay, but really you don't have much else outside of those 2. And so whenever you play a real competitive game like this, Spo cooks it up in the lab where they played that zone defense, that shifting matchup man-to-man zone, kept them in it close, but then you got Ant Edwards on the other end. You got Naz Reid on the other end. You got all the length in the world defensively. Functional size, is the buzzword for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So that's what I think. I just think that they're going to be competitive, scrappy. At the end of the day, just they don't have the offensive firepower to finish off teams and put 4 consistent quarters together.
It hurts because Miami shot well. They shot 41% from 3, 46% overall. But here's the issue. Minnesota shot 49%, 40% from three. The Heat moved to 3-14 on the season when they allow 40% or better from 3-point range. So ultimately, they just got outdueled by a frankly better team. And I think that that's what you're having to come to grips with as you play New York, as you play a team like Minnesota. Obviously, they were able to get the Wizards game. We'll see how they play in this, upcoming stretch against teams of varying, degrees of talent throughout the different conferences. But let's get to the player of the night. We're going to talk a little bit about the best guy for Minnesota, but also a guy who keeps showing up for Miami as well, the aggressive player of the game.
And now it's time for the A-Aggressive Insurance Player of the Night, sponsored by our friend Lynette. You can find her at insurancebylynette.com. That's with 2 N's and 2 T's, insurancebylynette.com. If you need car insurance, renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance, or any other type of insurance, she's the person to go to. Based in Lauderhill, she services the entire Tri-County area here in South Florida, and she will make sure to get you the best deal. She'll probably talk to you about the Heat while you're at it. Reach out to her, insurancebylynette.com. And now, the player of the game.
So, it was a balanced attack on Minnesota's side. I think Naz Reid, if there was a guy around the league that you could say, I get to pluck them off that team and put them on the Miami Heat, Naz Reid would be on the short list for me. I like his game a ton. He was really good tonight. But for Miami, just want to shout out again, Bam Adebayo, 11 of 21, 13 rebounds, 29 points, 4 assists, 43 minutes. This was a big game from him. We're continuing to see that. I wish that Tyler was as efficient as Bam is playing, but ultimately this is another good game from Bam. And I just think that if we're going to take something good from this, it's that Bam Adebayo appears to have found the confidence that he needs to be the kind of aggressive offensive player that gets to the basket, gets to the free throw line. He was 6 of 7 tonight. Those are the kind of things you want to continue to see. But I thought that there were a lot of other areas that they could have done better. Your thoughts on the way they guarded Ant? Because, Ant had an off game. He was 4 of 10 overall. They still get the victory. That stings as well when, like, Anthony Edwards didn't go off for 40 and you lose. He scored 13. He had 13 rebounds and 6 assists. But your thoughts on the way they defended Ant?
Yeah, so Ant, it's interesting to me because I don't think it was the defensive, Bam Adebayo clamped him or Haywood Highsmith clamped him or Davion Mitchell clamped him. I think Ant Edwards lets you off the hook a lot with his willingness to settle for outside shots. And that let the Heat hang around in the game because he was missing his outside shot a ton this game. He was 37% from 3 because later he started hitting the threes. But early in the game, he was missing, a lot of those threes. So whenever you have a player that's that athletic, that dynamic and scoring around the basket, if he's not being aggressive and driving and causing havoc, it tends to work out for your team. And maybe that's the genius of Spo in going to that zone, lulling them to sleep.
Yeah.
And Ant settling instead of attacking the creases of the zone. So could be a little bit of mad scientist Spo with the zone causing it. It could just be Ant's own nature because he settles a lot. He did it in the playoffs last year too. Settled for the outside shot way too much.
Yeah, and ultimately what sucks is that the Timberwolves still found a way to win. And so that, it's tough for me to see that they didn't have any one guy go crazy. They had a really balanced attack and they just were more cohesive at the end. They made more plays, and this has been a reoccurring theme where the Heat are not closing these ball games. And if they wish to, and it's tough to even really see scenarios where they get up to the 6 seed, but if they want to hold on to 7, they can't lose a lot more games at home, particularly because we know how tough it is to win on the road. They have a home heavy March. So this has to be, you want to start to get in the habit of winning home games, protecting your home floor. They did not do that tonight. Let's get to the play of the night before we go into some of the plays for defending the house that we will give the Heat some props for as well. But the X-ray play of the day.
And now it's time for the X-ray of the play of the day, brought to us by our friends over at Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services. Nelson and his team will bring the X-ray equipment and the staffing to you. If you work in a hospital or a medical office, get a consultation today at c-armandstaffing.com or give them a call at 561-891-9620. Their fleet of trucks at your service. Again, it's Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services, 561-891-9620. And now, the X-ray of the play of the day.
So we talked pre-show that it had to be that late. Was it Ant that hit it, or was it Nikhil Alexander-Walker?
It was Ant that started the avalanche of the run. Was whenever he was playing bad, and then he just hit that deep three from straight away at the top of the key, and that's whenever the floodgates opened and they went on a run. So
yeah, that was with 5:12 to go. I'm looking at it now. He made a 31-foot three-pointer from the left wing, and that then had a scenario where Tyler hit a three, but Naz Reid came in and hit a three. Tyler missed a bucket. They got the rebound, and Naz Reid got another bucket assisted by Julius Randle. That's where it kind of started to fall apart. So that was a rough stretch. This was a game where they just executed better than Miami, and Spo talks about playing through the frustration. They're going to have to continue to play through the frustration of games like this because they had opportunities to win, just didn't make enough plays. Let's, just dive into defending the house. That'll get us to our next plays of the night before we close up shop here. We're doing a quick show on a Friday night. We will have you covered for the back-to-back because they play tomorrow, right? Am I crazy? I think I have the schedule right.
Let me check on that really quick for you.
We'll check and get on the other side of the segment.
And now it's time for our Defending the House segment, sponsored by our friends over at The Real Estate Shop. You can find them at realestateshopfl.com. That's with two P's and an E, realestateshopfl.com, or at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram. This is Javier Iglesias and Amanda Martin. They help buyers and sellers in real estate. They're nimble and protective of their clients. They service the entire Tri-County area. That's Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties with a proven on-market strategy. The Real Estate Shop sellers earn the most money in the shortest time frame because Amanda and Javier have a deep understanding of the local market. So check them out. Again, it's at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram, realestateshopfl.com, or give them a call at 954-268-9812. And now, who defended the house?
Again, we have to continue to preface that while the Heat do not defend their home floor, there's not a lot of defending the house going on. But there was a segment there in the third quarter where the Heat had a really fun run that ended in a Bam Adebayo dunk, and there were a string of Tyler Hero stealing the ball from Julius Randle, Duncan Robinson stealing the ball from Anthony Edwards. So there were plays tonight that were fun, and it was a close, hotly contested game. But Adele, ultimately, they don't get it done. Your final thoughts before we close up shop here, and anything else on the defensive end that we're missing?
The big thing that I think that the Miami Heat are missing overall, when you think about this team, is that no matter which way you want to build a lineup, you want a offensive lineup, you want a defensive lineup, there's going to be warts and holes in that lineup.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you're getting a lot of the inconsistent play. I mean, Spo can rethink his rotations all he wants, but no matter which way you slice it, there isn't going to be a solution to the problem game in, game out, quarter to quarter, because they don't have a rotation or a lineup that can play an offensive brand of basketball. They don't have a rotation that can play a defensive brand of basketball. There's going to be holes in those lineups because of the talent gap. I think that's my biggest theme and my biggest takeaway that plagued the Miami Heat in the 2025 season is that lack of ability to play any one brand of basketball without it having a bunch of holes.
Yeah, and that's especially evident on the offensive side. The defensive side, they've gotten away with being, at least by some of the key metrics, around a top 10 defense, right? But it's the offensive end that they continue to struggle with. They dropped to 29 and 33. That is only a half game up from the Atlanta Hawks. They still remain in the 7th seed after the loss tonight, but it is a loss. They got to regroup. They got Chicago tomorrow. I was not crazy before we went to the segment. They do play it tomorrow in a back-to-back. Chicago is always a tough matchup for Miami for a number of reasons. Kobe White has been a tough cover. The last time we played them, I think if I remember correctly, Matas Buzelis went off, didn't he? 10 for 10.
Matas Buzelis, yeah, he didn't miss a shot really against us. Like he made almost every shot. Like he's a good rookie.
It'll be fun, but they're not as good as New York or Minnesota. So for me, they're a team that Miami needs to protect their home floor. So when we're doing defending the house tomorrow night, they better be in defense of the house in a victory, because this game, further cements them as a play-in team. I think now you're getting to the point where you're too far away from expecting to get up to 6 to catch Detroit. So this is firmly, you're in the play-in. They lose 106-104. The Miami Heat due to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Adele, thank you. Thank you to our sponsors. We will have you covered for Heat Bulls tomorrow night at 8:00 Eastern. And Ethan, Brady, and Alex will be in the building for that one as well. Have a good night.
Take care.